The Jets just drafted Armand Membou to save their offensive line crisis. Most fans haven't even heard of his name before. But turns out, this rookie could be exactly what Justin Fields needs to survive the season. Today, I'm joined by Calum McAndrew of the Columbia Tribune. He's been covering Armand his entire career. He's going to give us some insight into the player he is and what he could possibly turn into with the Jets. Let's get into it. Calum McAndrew, thanks for joining JetCast. I really appreciate your time.
No, thank you very much for having me. Pleasure to be here.
So give our fans a little bit of a background of who you are, how you started in the sports reporting industry, and how you ended up at Mizzou.
So pretty noticeable that I'm not from Missouri. I'm from close to Edinburgh, Scotland. Originally, I played college golf in North Carolina when I moved over there when I was 18, and then moved over to Columbia, Missouri for my master's. Got a job here, doing a little bit of editing at the student newspaper here, and just kind of parlayed that into a few jobs after jobs to end up now covering Mizzou full time. I've been doing that at the Tribune for the past 2 years, and then for the 2 years before that, I was kind of floating around different places. But yeah, so been covering Mizzou for 4 years, all of Armand Membou's career, and I guess a lot of undrafted free agent Brady Cook as well.
Cool. So let's just get right into him. So
sure.
He seems like a really nasty kind of player.
Yeah.
So, while on the other hand, during his press conferences, he's like the nicest kid. So what kind of demeanor is he like on the field? What is his leadership qualities? Is he kind of like a vocal leader, or is he someone that kind of leads by example?
A little bit of both, I would say. A little bit of both. From what we've heard, he's a good presence behind the scenes. He was always one of my favorite guys to interview. He was just a quote machine at times. I remember there was one time this would have been before his sophomore season in 2023. The line had kind of had some troubles the year before, and we're talking about just blocking and the dedication that it requires, and etc. And he delivered, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, it doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter if it's the band. It doesn't matter if it's an elementary school. They're all getting it. I thought that was an all-time quote for me from Membou. But yeah, he is more of an on-the-field leader, lead by the example kind of guy, I would say. Anytime there was a scuffle on the field, you could expect him to be front and center defending his teammates. I remember there was a really famous one in a game against Arkansas a couple of seasons ago. But I would say more of a lead by example guy, which you would expect from someone his size.
From a technical standpoint,
yeah,
what are his biggest strengths? Is he better as a pass protector? Is he better as a road grader? And how do you think that'll play out on the Jets?
I'm not going to pretend to be an offensive line expert, and the ins and outs of what makes a right tackle great. But from what we've seen, I mean, Missouri runs an outside zone scheme, and his ability to create space for the runners was at times unparalleled. He's the best player I've seen do it at Missouri. He's one of the best players I've seen do it in the SEC. The amount of times we would see guys moving 8, 9, 10 yards downfield by way of Membou just moving them there, straight up carrying them downfield, is unbelievable. So I would say his biggest strength is probably in creating space in the run game. But then you look at last season, his last year, and I think probably one of the reasons that he has been drafted as high as he has been is that he didn't give up any sacks on Brady Cook. And this was a line that was at times, a little bit prone to allowing pressure in Brady Cook's face. So that side, how clean he was able to keep the quarterback. I mean, a lot of strengths about his game, a lot of people that say how technically sound he is, and it translates to what we saw on the field last year.
Being in the SEC is obviously, I think, the hardest division conference in college sports. So facing a lot of SEC pass rushers, how do you think he fared up against top tier talent? Any specific matchup that kind of stand out?
no specific matchup that stands out, but I mean, I think it's the consistency of the product. I think it's the consistency of the results. You look at no sacks allowed, minimal pressures allowed. It really is. I mean, that's you can't really ask for much more than that out of a tackle. I know a lot of people were concerned a little bit about his size heading into the draft process, I think, and his length, but I mean, unparalleled strength. I mean, you are talking about some of the best edge rushers. I mean, in the country coming out of the SEC, and to not allow a single one of those players to get past him essentially that's pretty impressive.
So the coaching staff kept him at right tackle.
Yes.
And you could argue that if you want your best tackle to play on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
Was it a matter of they just don't want to move him because he's so dominant there? Or is it something that they don't think he can translate to a left tackle?
I think it was because of how dominant he was there. In his first couple of years, Missouri had an all SEC left tackle in his first couple of seasons in Columbia as well. Javon Foster, he's over with I believe he's still with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was an all SEC, all American, like a lower tier All American type left tackle. He was a mainstay in the program, had been there for 6 years. So that was really, they were set at the two tackle positions, stick Armand Membou over on the right, get Javon Foster over on that side, and they did pretty well when those two got together on the field. I think as a junior, it was just a case of, hey, here's where he's best. Mizzou went into the transfer portal and got another all-conference type player at left tackle. And, you know, it's don't try and fix what isn't broken, essentially, at that point. I think it was keep him out there and it paid dividends. You know, I mentioned how they run the outside zone. They were the most successful on that side of the line because of what he was able to create, what he was able to move on that side. I think it's really a case of that's where he was dominant. Let's play him there.
You know, as Jet fans, we've had plenty of seasons where the offensive line has had just injuries after injuries after injuries. And, you know, we end up having to move guys around. We end up drafting guys that have a lot of flexibility. Like our center, Tittman, can play guard. Our right guard, AVT, he can play tackle if you really need him to. Fashanu can play both left and right. So I think there's a little bit of a worry of someone that plays only right tackle. But him being so dominant, I just think it's good for the team in that you can plug someone in there. He's not going to move, and you kind of don't have to worry about that right side of the line, especially with them all being young. I think the last I saw is the 5 guys on our line now are all under 27, I think, which is huge. So I'm excited about the pick. Is there any sort of like adversity that he had to go through at Mizzou, fighting for a job, injuries, things like that?
Not that I can recall. I mean, he entered the lineup pretty early on in his freshman season and made that stick. I think I wrote this back in December, but he played a lot of games in a row for a position that does get as hurt as often as it does. I mean, I think he played 30 plus games in a row over the course of 3 seasons. So you'll need to fact check me on that one. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but as long as I've been here, he's been pretty much a mainstay at that position.
Did he handle any sort of pre-snap responsibilities? Was he good communicating across the line with the guys that played next to him?
That's something I'm afraid I don't know. That's something I think maybe college coaches are a little more tight-lipped about what goes into their sticks than the NFL. They're a little more. As far as what we know about this Missouri line is that they were a Joe Moore semifinalist. That was that's the college award for one of the best lines in the country. So they must have had something going right for them. They must have had.
Let's take a few minutes to shift a little bit
to
the quarterback, Cook.
Yeah.
Undrafted free agents just picked him up. Yesterday, Jordan Travis retired after not taking a single snap. So I think maybe the Jets kind of knew that was coming down the line. I'm surprised they didn't draft a quarterback sooner, but is Cook one of those guys that kind of flew under the radar? Do you think he's someone that could compete for a quarterback 3 position? Do you think he should have been drafted? Because when you look at his numbers, they're actually pretty good.
Well, I think he's the whole draft process where everyone that was kind of looking at Cook was like, this is going to be a late day 3 guy, or someone's going to get a really good pickup in free agency. Somewhat that's kind of the way I was approaching this draft. What Cook has done for the past 3 seasons is remarkable. It really is what he is. He has managed to personally overcome the adversity that he's managed to beat down, to translate that into winning more games at Missouri than any quarterback has done in a decade. A really impressive player. I think the inconsistencies that he has on his tape in the deep passing game, I think he is a little bit limited on that front, is probably why he fell out. But you're looking at a guy that's really extremely athletic when you look at what he managed to do at the combine, what he's put on tape. I think this is a sneaky, very good pickup for the Jets in free agency. I think anyone that signed him was going to have a guy that is a straight up leader and a winner, which is kind of hard to come by.
And the last one I have is a little bit of a personal question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Growing up in Scotland, what sort of image did you have of, we'll call it American football?
Yeah.
Growing up? Because I think, it's very rare that I get someone on the podcast that's actually grew up, over in the UK. So
sure.
What is it like? Did you have any idea? Is this like, I don't know. Tell me about what it's like over there and what maybe the image of football is over there.
No, I was amazed everybody was just committing handballs all the time. I couldn't believe it. No, so I watched a little bit, especially when they moved the NFL games to Wembley in London.
Okay.
That was a big part of, like, it was on national TV. It was something that we could watch. It was something that, could get invested in. My dad always liked it growing up. So I was aware and familiar. When it really sort of hit for me was when I moved to North Carolina. It was the Cam Newton years there you go.
Yep.
And, it was just a state that was enamored with its football team, and I kind of got along on the bandwagon there. So that was really my first sort of hardcore introduction to it. And then over the years, it's just developed into a love, especially for the college game on my side. I love covering SEC football and getting to travel around with that and tell the stories of these guys that are your next Jet right tackle and Jets undrafted free agent quarterback.
Yeah, especially in the South, I think the Southern schools, Southern football in general, the college games are just wild,
right?
Especially compared to the NFL. Me, living up in the Northeast, obviously, we don't really have a school around here that anybody can kind of tie on to. So it becomes the professional sports. Everybody leans to the professional sports up here. So, it's just a different world, I think, the college football game. So awesome. Hey, thanks for hanging out. I really appreciate it. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter X at C_McAndrew 95. That's where I post all my work, where I write all the inane things that I do. So that's the best place that you can find me. I also work for the Columbia Tribune. So if you're looking, I've got hundreds of stories over the years about Brady Cook, and then there's more stories up there about Armand Membou as well over the years that I'm sure you can dig out and find with a Google search.
If he ever starts, I'll have you back on and we can talk about
it. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I'm all for Justin Fields right now, but at this point, it's almost like they're just throwing anything against the wall and seeing what sticks, to be quite honest with you. So,
sure. Cook, I think that's a sneaky good addition.
Cool. Thanks again for hanging out, and thanks guys for clicking on the video. We're gonna have more coming up with the rest of the draft picks. So till next time, go Jets.